Bumblebee with Beehive Flight. I just want to make a quick video, try to help you guys out in 5 red flags when you're looking for flight school. It's a big investment. It's a lot of money to get your pilot's license, especially if you're doing the career path. So I just want to give you some red flags of things to look out for flight schools that maybe you don't want to go there if they exhibit these couple things. Number one, if they take all your money up front. It's very popular to have a fixed cost, and that's fine. But if they take all your money up front, or if they help you get your student loan, if you're getting a loan, and it's attached to that flight school specifically, you don't want to do that. You kind of want to stay away from that. And here's the reasons why. There's two. One, they're in control. They already have your money, and so while I went and experienced this. I went to one of those pilot mills where they push you through. It's 0 time to 250. We're going to do it in a very short amount of time, fast as possible. And I thought, oh, great. This would be perfect for me. I just want to get done. So I went and borrowed the money. And so my student loan was attached to them. So this was really my only option. I didn't have a way of walking away. And so they decided not to treat me as a customer anymore. I wasn't a student. I mean, I was kind of a student, but it was my way or the highway. Either get with the program, we're not adjusting to you. So either, step up or step out. And so what treated me like that I wasn't a customer is just kind of like this pressure of instead of them being helpful, it was like, well, can you keep up? Can you not keep up? Let's go. That's one reason. And then number two is a different kind of problem that you face with smaller flight schools, especially newer ones. Sometimes they close the doors and take your money. I don't know how to say this, but I don't want to say they're doing it on purpose, but sometimes, flight schools are kind of hard to keep open. The planes are expensive. If they got a loan to pay for the plane, they have a plane payment. They're renting their hangar. They got fuel that they're paying for. They got instructors, and all these things add up. And if the plane's not flying enough, they're not keeping up, or their finances aren't right. They didn't figure it out correctly. Sometimes they just run out of money. And so if they have your money and they still ran out of money, they'll just close the doors on you. I've had this happen a couple times in the area where flight school is like, oh yeah, it's upfront cost, you pay us. You show up, you're like, I'm going to fly every day with them. You show up, you fly Tuesday. You had to go fly with your instructor. You're excited. He tells you, okay, we're going to meet again tomorrow morning. You show up, doors closed. You and your instructor are both locked out. Owner's gone, taking the money. The planes aren't there. It's just closed. And there's a sign that says out of business. Sometimes there's crooked people that do it, but sometimes it's just, they just literally just ran out of money. And so that's why you don't want your money tied up with them. If you avoid it, I would avoid this at big cost. Do not give people your money up front if you can avoid it. So it's a little different. Sometimes flight schools do what's called block time, where you buy like 20 hours. And so then they'll give you a discount if you buy 20 hours. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about all the money. You gave them all $10,000, $50,000 for your pilot's license, or you give them all $150,000 to take you from 0 time all the way to done. Up front, you're locked in, you're stuck. Hopefully they stay open the whole time. Hopefully they treat you as a customer. It just doesn't really happen. Number two is a guaranteed flight instructor job. So this is especially for those career schools that take you from 0 time all the way to your CFI. They're like, okay, we're going to do this. Not every pilot should be an instructor. So they may have finished their program, and flying is very much a pass-fail. And so they may have passed, but they may have passed by the skin of their teeth. And so while they may technically know how to fly the plane, they may not know how to teach to fly the plane. So they just are made to be instructors, and they really should do something else. But instructor's kind of the way that a lot of people go to get their hours. So if they're guaranteeing you a flight instructor job, they're like, yeah, if you come here, guarantee we're going to hire you, then to me that's kind of a red flag of, well, but if my instructor was guaranteed and he necessarily wasn't the best, but you had to hire them because that's your guarantee, then who am I getting? Instead of them being very selective in who they pick. That's one reason. The second reason is, especially if it's a pilot mill kind of career thing, So you'll fly from 0 time to roughly 260 hours. And so that's part 61. I'm just going to do part 61 numbers. So your instructor is part 61 instructor. He went to probably to the same school. He's trying to reach 1,500 hours, he or she. So they're trying to reach 1,500 hours. So let's say you flew every hour with that one instructor. So now your instructor, so you flew 260 hours. Then if you were taking a student and you were taking from 0 time all the way to the end, you fly another 260 hours. You're at 520. They're at 260. You've now created another instructor that's not working there, and so kind of like a pyramid scheme, right? Where also there's too many instructors. Either the instructors aren't going to get time, or they've got to figure out a way to reduce instructors. And I've seen the schools do it 2 different ways. These flight schools that do these guaranteed flight instructors. One is they have a high washout rate. I was at a pilot mill, this one that I was talking about that took all my money up front. And right at the CFI, or not CFI, your commercial, right about 250 hours, they had a high washout rate where they're like, yeah, you need to take your check ride right now, or you're gonna get out. If you don't pass, you're out. You're gone. There's no second chances. Boom, you failed the program. And that's right about the time where you've flown away almost all of your money. And so when I was there, we had about 10 of us students. We're kind of right at that, in our commercial. And I got pulled into the room and said, "You're taking your check ride Monday. If you don't take your check ride, you can step up, take your check ride, or you can step out." And I was like, "Ooh, am I ready? Do I feel confident that I can take my check ride? Am I better off to go ahead and do this, hope that I pass, or am I better to walk away?" And so that was the decision that all of us had to make. And 7 out of 10 of us didn't finish the program. So about 7 out of 10 of us just didn't do it. So that's just what kind of happened, because they couldn't have us all as instructors. They can't have us all finish the program and then guarantee us this job. And also part of the program is they were like, "Oh, you instruct with us, we'll guarantee you so many hours of flying. You know, you'll be averaging with us about 80 hours of flying every month. You're going to keep you busy, which is just going to be rolling out." So that was just kind of where it was. That's what it was. It's just like, they just, nope, you don't pass. And so that's something they'll hide. And this school that I went to, they said they had a 9 out of 10 pass rate. And I was like, that's not what I saw. I saw a major not pass rate. A third problem that I have is if you go to a flight school and none of their instructors went to that school, that could be a possible red flag. That means they're not training to a high enough standard. They don't have the ability to train to a high enough standard. The only exception to this is if it's kind of a newer flight school, right? Like if they just barely opened like a year ago, they may not have had time to take an instructor. But if they've been open for a significant time, 3, 4, 5 years, then you want most of their instructors to have come from that school. So you want your instructor to be like, "Yeah, I went through this program. It was great. It was successful. They were very accommodating. Here's all the reasons I really liked this school that I attended. Here's why I chose to instruct here. We're going to train you up to a high standard. We'll get you set to go." So that would just be kind of something I'd hold on to as well. Why are none of your instructors trained here? If that's the case, if they're going, "Oh, I went down the street, I went to this person, or I went to this flight school out of state," then that would just be kind of a possible red flag. Something that just maybe raise some alarms. Number 4 is not a clear syllabus, not a clear path. So a big thing is flight instructors, you have a syllabus. This is the path we're going to do. And if they can explain, like, "Okay, we're going to get your private pilot's license, and we're going to work on this. Once you perfect this, we're going to move here." For private pilot, it would be, okay, first thing we're going to go up, we're just going to introduce the airplane. Then we're going to have straight level, turns at level, climbing turns, descending turns. Once we can hold our heading, hold our altitude, climb and descend and do all those things. Okay, now we're going to do slow flight. Okay, now we're going to talk about stalls. Okay, now we're going to do landings. Now we're going to solo you. Now we're going to do emergency procedures. Now we're going to solo you. Okay, now we're gonna do cross countries. Now we're gonna cross country solo. Okay, now we're gonna get ready for check ride. Now we're gonna pass your check ride. Right? There's a syllabus. Here's the steps, and they can explain it like this is what we do. This is how we do it. This is how the ground school is gonna work out. If there's not that easy to understand, if they can't lay it down like this is the plan, this is exactly how it is, and for you to easily understand and for them to easily explain it, there's a clear path. They can explain it. That would be something that would be like, are you not organized? Also, if there's a very strict syllabus, if it's like, hey, you get 3 hours to work on this, and then 3 hours of flight time, and then we're moving on. We're going boom, boom, boom. We got to keep you moving. That's probably some problems with the pilot mills, especially if they have a fixed cost, where it says we're going to do it for this amount of money, keep up or move out. There's a major national flight school that's that way, and it's pushing you through. And if there's not that flexibility to maybe help you, maybe your instructor did a good job explaining something and you got further in your flights training than you should be. You really should know how to do this, but you don't. I found that happened to me. That instructor really didn't explain how to trim the airplane that well, or the way he explained it didn't really work for me. And I got all the way to, I got my private pilot's license because I could kind of manhandle the airplane. Trimming is where you kind of take the relief off your pressure, or the pressure off your controls, makes it easier to fly. It's not mandatory that you know how to do it, just makes it much easier. And mostly, if examiners, if you know how to trim, they're kind of like, I don't really want you flying, but I could hide it. My instructor, we didn't have time to go back over it, so my instructor just kind of taught me how to hide it. Well, I got to my instrument check ride, and it came to a part where we were going to do unusual attitudes, which I was under the hood. I'm going to look just the instruments. He's going to put the plane in weird position. I'm going to recover. And so I'm like, okay, you take the airplane for a little bit. The examiner goes, whoa, why is this not trimmed? And I just admitted, I'm like, I'm not real good at trimming. Which isn't a mandatory skill. Just makes it easier. He goes, you don't know how to trim the airplane? I was like 120, 130 hours. I was a high, not high time pilot. Like you think of high time pilots, but I was a higher type student. Right? I'm not new. I've been flying quite a bit. He's like, you don't know how to trim the airplane? Why? And then, we continued on. And I was just, we'd say manhandling. I was, pushing the yoke forward, pulling it back, kind of just manhandling it. Instead of making it easy, if you know how to trim the airplane, it's, you reduce the power. I'm going to descend. I reduce the power. I trim off the pressure. Oh, look, the plane naturally descends. Instead, I was like, pull the power, pushing the yoke forward. Or, I need to climb, pulling it back instead of trimming it out. That's just the example. That's from my training, where there wasn't that flexibility. And so you want to have someone that has some flexibility, that your school's very much, if you're like, hey, you know what? I'm not comfortable trimming the airplane. Guess what? Ended up that you do a little half-hour flight. He was over I went with a different instructor. A little half-hour flight. He's like, oh, look, here's a different way. I tried this technique. Does this work for you? Cool. Boom. Move on. Because I could tell you in theory how to do it, but I couldn't actually do it. The way they explained it, it was just a different way. So I trimmed airplanes a little bit differently than everybody else, so I could teach you both methods. If you were teaching you, like this is the way they do it, this is the way they explain it, this is how I do it. I do it this way. But just so back to the basics. You want to have that flexibility. You want to know that, okay, if I need an extra hour or 2 hours to go over this maneuver, or I don't quite understand this, if there's that little bit of flexibility. If it's super rigid, it's like, nope, you got to move on to the next thing. That's a big red flag. You got to bounce. Do not stay at that school. Or the fifth one is very much a high student to instructor and airplane ratio. If there's not availability, if you're at the school and your instructor's not available all the time, your airplane's not available, and so you are like, I want to go fly, and that availability, you're like, but I can't. I don't have an instructor. I don't have an airplane. They're not available. I can't go. If that's what you're facing, I faced that at one point in my flight training, where they had one plane. I was getting my commercial multi. They had one plane that was multi-engine. I was the only student. They didn't care about keeping the maintenance up on it. It just wasn't available. Then that's a big red flag. If your plane is not available or your instructor is not available a lot of the time, then that's something you might want to get going, because flying is a deteriorating skill. When every day you don't fly, you get slightly worse at flying. And so you want to keep flying. That's one of the best things you can do, is just keep flying, keep going, keep working on it. You don't want to be taking these big breaks. And if you're forced to take big breaks because of lack of instructor, lack of airplane, kind of a problem. All right, my friends. I'll see you in the sky. Beehive Flight. Hopefully we can fly together. See the sky. May you always have tailwinds. If you got any comments, go ahead and ask your questions in the comments. I'll read them. I'd love to make another videos. Try to help you guys just kind of pay it forward. Help everyone be progressive, progress, and may we all enjoy the skies safely. Thanks, my friends. Bye.